Joyous time zones, my Sakonauts. I'm Sako Tumi, also known as the Witch of Tylwyth Teg, and welcome to the Monday Morning Witchy Hour. Today, we are going to talk about gods with R.C. Scott. Hi, R.C.
Burn the witches, take no time to sew the stitches. What up, folks? This is R.C. Scott, and I write horror, and I like witchy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And how are you doing, Sako? And hi, Debbie.
I am. Hi, Debbie. Thanks for the support. Thanks for hanging out. Where's my notes? If you haven't met before, I'd like to welcome you to my channel. It's very nice to meet you. And if you have been here before, it is so lovely to see you back. I'd like to start this morning with a grounding ritual to start your day. This starts near your domain, and if you've not created a domain, you might want to sign up for my newsletter, which is linked below. Sit with your hands in your lap and close your eyes.
Hi, Christina.
Take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it for a moment. And as you let it out completely through your mouth, let go of the tension from the night and the grogginess of the morning. Take another deep breath in. As you breathe in, imagine you are breathing in pure love. As you breathe out, imagine you are breathing out forgiveness. Take a third deep breath in, and as you do so, imagine a light coming in at the top of your head. It enters at the top of your head and spreads down over your face, neck, and shoulders. This cleansing light now spreads along your back, down your legs, and out through your feet. It is as if cleansing light is a constant flow of soothing energy entering from your head and passing out through the arches of your feet. You are just outside the door of your domain. The air is crisp and cool. The evergreens sway slightly in the breeze, and there is a large patch of moss at your feet. Step barefoot onto the moss. Feel how soft it is. Feel the solid ground underneath. That light coming into your head can now be translated into energy that you can send out your feet. Convert the light into roots and send the roots out the bottoms of your feet and deep into the earth, as deep as you can. The soil is fresh, easy to toil, easy to carve a path down. Feel how anchored you are, how close to the earth. Reach as far down as you can. The earth hugs your roots comfortably, no matter how sharp or curly, no matter how many times they split off. Slowly pull the roots back up the way they came. Your roots slither through the dark, the soil filling in its wake. Pull the roots back into your feet, convert it back to the light, and let the light filter through you and out the top of your head. Take one more deep breath in and begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. When you are ready, open your eyes.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty grounded.
Samesies.
Hi, turtle that is red. How's it going, Katarina? Oh crap! It's doing it already. Let's do it. We're go. Ah. All right.
Coffee.
Thank you for popping in to like. I appreciate the support. All right. Tarot cards.
And by the way, Mad Prop Show on the dance off on Saturday.
Oh, thank you so much. I just edited the video today, so the sound doesn't sync perfectly, but it, like, from what I understand, it was on sync during the show,
Yes.
not during the recording.
And I could tell it was you. Not somebody else. Not somebody else, me cheering them on like they're you. I don't care. I still own it. Go, Sako. It's your birthday.
Soon enough. Soon enough. Christina's intention today is to be patient. That's my intention most days, but today is forecasted to be quite busy. And then ballet after work. Oh, well, ballet is self-care, right? So,
Ballet.
and people saying hi to each other. All right.
You can do it, Christina.
We got the Knight of Wands, which is a fun card. The Six of Wands, which is kind of like rallying the fighters together. And the Eight of Swords reversed. Let's see here.
I like those designs. Who did that?
It was actually an amalgamation of 4 people, I think. Or am I mistaking that for another deck?
Wow, they literally did that to 4 people. They like fused them together. That's gnarly. You said an amalgamation.
So there's a different, let's see, it's Tarot of the Divine brings traditional tarot archetypes to life with a lustrous series of fables, including The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, The Crane Wife, Sleeping Beauty, King Arthur, and the stories of many lesser-known legends and deities from all over the world.
That's pretty cool.
Just as tarot provides a way to interpret the world around us, so too do these illuminating folk tales. But each card is a masterpiece. Like, I'm super hyped for it.
It's pretty nifty. So we got Wands and Swords. Reverse Swords.
Well, reverse swords, thank goodness.
Now, Wand is the most important face in all the tarot, right? Like the most significant?
Not necessarily. That's mostly conflict.
Oh.
Is the swords. And the wands are like dynamism and fire and courage and
mental acuity.
Sure. Most of the mental and intellect stuff is swords, but
I'm still learning.
freedom, new perspectives, taking a stand, strength, and healing. But apparently we're getting shit done with this Knight. playfulness, charisma, discovery, a rogue, enthusiasm. Oh, wait, that's the wrong one. Adventure, a rebel, hot temper. So, and Six of Wands. Is that achievement, victory at price? So, we got our freedom from the bullshit. We got sometime this week is Mercury going into retrograde during a solar eclipse. So if you had any bullshit to do the things, what's the word I'm looking for? If there's any bullshit on your karma, it will show itself this coming week.
Karma against yourself or against good karma?
Both.
Okay.
So if you were, accruing good karma, then you will be rewarded.
Yeah, but does it count as just this life, or it could be karma from a previous one? Could it be karma from a previous one?
Both. Very much so. So the whole thing about, at least in Buddhism, right? The whole thing about karma is that you do inherit karma, like not just from your life, but from your ancestors as well. And you spend your life reversing whatever bad karma that might entail. So I have been working diligently throughout my life to change the karma that I inherited. So having the passion and kind of rallying the troops, and then the freedom on top of it. So your week is going to be gratifying.
I am actually dreading this week, namely today.
Why? Oh, because of the
from work
HR
and just
thing.
Oh, that too, but it's definitely one of those weeks of possible resolving of things, and I don't know which way it's gonna go.
Yeah.
I should have bought
pull
some
an
Tums.
extra card for you and see if it's sooner rather than later. 5 of Wands, conflict. I think it's going to be a bitch for a while yet.
Such is life.
Such is life. All right. Horoscope. April 17th, 2023. Rigid thought patterns can finally dissolve. The intuitive moon blends well with the unique Uranus, sensitizing our hearts and bringing new perspectives. We then see the moon conjoin dreamy Neptune at 2:57 p.m. Eastern, and creating a spiritually healing atmosphere, but we're prone to being overly sentimental and idealistic. We then receive a call to action with the moon leaping into dynamic Aries, putting our unique mindset into practice. Finally, the moon works with evolutionary Pluto to bring lasting inner change for us. Let's open our minds. Hi, Mint. Good to see you.
Freshly minted mint.
Freshly minted mint. So I would say that horoscope kind of like plays into the cards that we pulled this morning too.
Guard is up.
Guard is up. On top of that, I would invest in self-care as much as possible.
Okay.
I mean, the freedom, giggle snort.
Yeah, giggle snort. Good. Sorry.
All right.
For the record, drugs are not self-care, people.
For the record, drugs are not self-care.
Despite what we say to ourselves.
All right. So today we are talking about gods and working with them. So, RC, what is your experience working with gods so far?
About as much experience I have working with the president. Never met him. I don't think he's done anything for me that I know of. At the same time, what is God? I grew up in a Christian household, Southern Baptist, namely.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, they all have their quirks, don't they?
So I hear.
But either way, that kind of turned me off to religion for a while. I actually had a phase where I was just pissed off at anybody that believed in anything that wasn't, that was beyond themselves. Because no, everything, I was nihilistic.
Mm-hmm.
There's no hereafter. There's no supernatural. You're just, cells.
Sure.
But I got a little more open about it. Started looking at different religions. Realized that most of them are pretty much the same. Got more into the older pantheons. A lot more interesting. A lot more deeper. Just, started with Greek mythology. I was a big fan of that for a long time.
Sure.
Roman Norse mythology. Looked in a little bit of, some Indian folklore, African folklore. My God. I don't like people will always see in movies nowadays is Greek mythology, and now we're suddenly getting Norse mythology. They never even tapped African mythology. It's just so huge. Just Western Africa by itself. Anywho, my experience with God, I don't know. I mean, I think right now I'm at that point where we can't really define God properly because we just think of some being that created us out beyond us, standing there lording over everything, sending one person somewhere or not, if that's what you believe. But I don't know. I think maybe I'm closer to like the Force being God than anything. The Clockwork Elves,
Sure.
What's beyond these dimensions kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe inevitability or karma, all that stuff. Maybe we are gods in our own, our minds are connected to some conscious and to the universe, as above, so below.
As above, so below.
So I guess, you can't define God, so neither can I.
Gods are deities that I believe you can call upon to kind of like add kerosene to your already burning fire regarding your spell work. However, I would not like count on them to help you. Like, it's not just a part of a spell. Like, let's say you want to do a love spell, which, if it's not directed at yourself, then it is mind control and it is fucked up. But the words.
What would you say are the most effective? So you got love spells, like vengeance spells or protection spells. Like, what do you think is the most potent in magic?
I think it's going to vary depending on your relationship with said deities. Me personally, I like Kali for vengeance and anger and
Fire.
rage and
Burn the world.
Burn the world, yeah.
She's cool.
Scorched earth. And which is rare, but there are times where it's necessary for sure. Originally, I was going to talk about guardians on this stream, but I have a guardian that Kali sent, Gorlak, who watches over my temple, my blanket fort sort of dealy. And they will not prevent destruction, but they will protect against people with ill intent. So, there's a two-sided coin to gods like that. Like Odin, for instance, which kind of puzzles me sometimes. But Odin was a god of sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you take your favorite dog and you hung it from the tree on Wednesday. And, like...
Odin be pleased.
Mm-hmm.
Odin likes dogs.
Odin likes dogs.
Which is interesting considering... Never mind. You want to talk about my guy. Life's unfair and I'll have to deal with it. You my boy, Fenrir.
So a lot of books, a lot of like intro to magic books kind of brush over this, and I think a lot of discussions do too. So people talk about honoring and feeling really connected to a particular deity, of course, but not so much on how to get there.
So there's no other way other than ritual, your own thing.
No, I disagree. I like being formal if I don't know them. If I am working with a god that I don't normally work with, I will like do an invocation and do an offering and kind of do a hailing sort of invocation in hopes that I can get their attention. And sometimes I can and sometimes I can't. Like Kali has never spoken to me directly. Like she supports me without, like, because I see the effects of Kali all over the place for sure, but I've never had like a conversation specifically with her. So I'm usually formal with Kali.
So will these deities like come to you of their own accord without even you noticing and be doing stuff for you?
Kernoon did that to me. So there are times where if you do something that like gets their attention, they can come to you. And you may not know who they are when they first show up. So for instance, so let's see, how do I tell this story? I was doing some astral traveling, and I didn't close the door behind me to my domain, and I had a trespasser. And I was kind of pissed off that they entered my sacred space without permission, without saying hi, without, like, basically, like, saying, like, announcing themselves. And I told them to get the fuck out. And later, I kind of like Googled the description of the god, and turns out that he's a Gaelic god, and Gaulish. Is that the word I'm looking for? From Gaul. Cairnoon or Cairnanoon. I like using Cairnoon because it is an easier on the mouth than Cairnanoon.
Cairnanoon.
Cairnanoon. He is the horned god, the god of the hunt, and kind of the male aspect of Wicca in a lot of pantheons, in a lot of people's paradigms. So, because it's either the horn god or the green man is the male counterpart to Hecate or Ishtar or whoever your female influences.
Now, I have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
First, when say you have deities visiting you without you calling them,
Yeah.
are they always going to leave you to figure it out? I can't imagine any of these deities comes up, "'Tis I, Odin," or something like that.
Never.
Yeah, it's because I noticed, like, even with horror stories you read with people trying to summon deities, just like tons and tons of research just to figure out the right one, the right way to summon them, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's always kind of the impression I had.
Yeah. They don't necessarily announce themselves. At least with me. I kind of look at working with the deities as like, they're not peers, but they treat me like one. So there's a familiarity with Hecate and with Cairnoon and with Ganesh and Saraswati that I don't. They don't necessarily like announce themselves when they show up. They're like, "Hey, what's up?" And
Like, you're supposed to know who they are already.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you didn't know? You asked, better call somebody. All right, I dig it. Also, there's one thing I know about these OG pantheons: they're just eternally and just squabbling with each other.
Yeah,
They don't, even within their own, their worlds and all that. Like,
mm-hmm.
they don't get pissed off. They're like, oh wait, you're talking to that guy.
Oh, I have not experienced that yet, because I kind of like pick and choose my deities very carefully. But I don't like.
It has been known to happen that you know of?
Not that I know of, but I wouldn't be surprised if you could piss off a god merely by working with a god he doesn't like, or they don't like.
I'm just imagining summoning Odin. He takes one look around, like, ah, so you like wolves, huh? Fuck you.
Well, it depends with Odin. Like, wolves in general aren't necessarily associated with Fenrir. Like, he might consider them part of the dog family.
Huh? I didn't think about it that way. Could be true.
And as far as I'm concerned, I work for balance. So, like, Hecate and Cairnoon are kind of like diametrically opposed, but they don't like compete with each other. They don't avoid each other. They don't. Very rarely do I call on more than one god in one sitting.
Now, you figure out who they are and acknowledging that doesn't like attract them more, make the bond stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
I think it does.
Shows you took the effort to look up who they are.
It is on you to research who they are and how to properly pay homage, because especially when you first meet a god, a deity, I advise having the right offerings and kind of like singing the song of their praises, and kind of like informing the deity what it is that you want help with. And they can say no. I have had gods say no in the past. Or they, like Kali, who will not say anything. She will just act.
The eternally busy Kali.
So I went on a journey a couple years ago where I was wondering who the base, because we have all these female gods, right? Goddesses. It all boils down to one deity. And I think the feminine is spurred by Ishtar or Inanna, who was a Mesopotamian goddess associated with love, beauty, sex, desire, fertility, war, justice, and political power, but is not a mother. The goddess of both warfare and sexuality. Unlike other gods whose roles were static and whose domains were limited, the stories describe her as moving from conquest to conquest. She was portrayed as young and impetuous, constantly striving for more power than she was allotted. While she was worshipped as the goddess of love, however, she was not the goddess of marriage nor as a mother. The dance of Inanna is a term for battle, associated with the planet Venus and Pisces, Eastern fish, and lions and doves. So I have called on Inanna when I am going to battle. Usually in the psychic realm. I do it with legal issues and when I'm defending a friend. I am quite battle oriented.
To war.
To war.
I had a question, but I forgot because I was too busy listening. It happens.
Let's see.
I keep thinking, like, if we were to introduce more older pantheons to the mainstream, might get some of this religion crap out of, swabbling out of the air. But God, can you imagine just with how dumb and tribal people are nowadays?
Mm-hmm.
You'd have a Camp Greek versus Camp Norse or whatever, just constantly while at it. Your God is an asshole. He's this and that. Never mind.
It can happen that way. There are groups or covens or what's another word for a gathering? That might not get along because they handle gods very differently from each other.
But does it have any impact on them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, the other group's dealings and wheelings, does that have any impact on what they're doing?
I feel like it does because psychic attacks aren't necessarily intentional. So if you garner hate for some reason, especially based on what they believe in, I know there are some people that probably frown upon me for working with Kali because she is also a goddess of death and violence. And if like
humans, we're violent, warlike animals, and that is part of our nature. If you don't embrace it, you're going to suppress it, and it's going to manifest in very unhealthy ways.
Mm-hmm. And that, I feel like, not so much impacts your workings, but more so impacts your karma. So garnering hate against a group solely for a bullshit reason, like the deities they work with, I feel like that would impact your karma negatively.
So basically, hating on any faith is bad karma.
I think so.
Me too, actually. Even the stuff I think is nonsense. Like, if it brings, as long as they're not hurting anybody and it brings them happiness, whatever. Keep it over there, fella.
However, they attach themselves to the great beyond is up to them. And if they read between the lines or take into context chunks of the liturgy, I don't know, like there are drawbacks to some working with some deities. I know witches that work with the God with a capital G, but he doesn't work with me. He has never answered my call. He has never come through for me. He's always looked at me from afar, and I have a sordid relationship with a god who would punish children. I had a very rough childhood, and I blamed it on him.
Now, you think that Judeo-Christian God exists along with the other gods out there?
I'm sorry?
You're talking about like different gods, whether it be Greek, Roman. Do you believe the Judeo-Christian God to exist among them?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think
he's not the only one for sure.
Yeah, but it's interesting because like the older gods, a lot of demand sacrifice to do horrible things in their name. It seems like that god took both of those because he's the one doing a lot of sacrificing himself, destroying us.
Well, not just that, like
indifference, maybe.
God with the uppercase G, he is the amalgamation of pagan gods, and like there are aspects of him that are split up throughout the world. I would rather specify what I'm doing why and to whom and how I'm, like doing the thing. So rather than work with a god that has snubbed me all my life, I would rather work with, say, Ganesh, who is super friendly, super gentle, and big on abundance, and big on getting work done, and kind of like enjoying the fruits of your labor. I think, I mean, I suppose in another life or whatever, I could get that aspect out of, you know, the big G, but I feel no need to do that in this life.
I don't know if I like felt God's presence in my life, but I always felt like there was kind of like a light there, and occasionally you catch it. 'Cause I've been forced to go to a bunch of the churches, not just family, but like I've had friends that were Catholic. I had a friend who was a Jehovah's Witness. You ever been to a Jehovah's Witness funeral?
Not a funeral, but
They are grim.
mhm,
3 hours of just fire and brimstone.
mhm.
It was awesome. But actually, like, yeah, I'd be at a couple of churches, and like, even if I'm not really like buying into what they're saying,
Mhm.
you catch their enthusiasm and it doesn't really feel negative. And it's like that they caught that piece of Nirvana. Like on Christmas last year, I was in rural Mississippi near my mom's, and I went to her church out there. It's been around since 1800s, and
Mhm.
it was like straight out of "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" And like me being a northerner cynic, I'm thinking church in the South. There's gonna be people running around with hoods on their heads, burning stuff. No, not like that at all. There was no preaching of judgment, none of that. Just singing and talking about love and light. And you had kids walking around with tin pails collecting coin donations. I'm like, this is
Mhm.
fucking awesome.
Mhm.
I don't buy into everything they're saying, but like they're touched by something here. They got that a little bit of that Nirvana tingling,
Right.
and
It
I hung on to that instead of oh, this is bullshit, this is all lies.
right is what is the effect that it's having on people?
Yep.
If it works for that person, then like more power to them. Absolutely. But it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like deep thinkers can't really buy into it that much because I mean, I know old mythologies have their faults, but at least they're more complex. It's not so binary like a
I
lot of things in
agree.
Christianity. Not so good, bad, 0, 1. Grecian
Inanna is a
socius.
great example of, or Hecate or Kali, great examples of um, the lack of duality, right? There's none of this like good and evil. There just is. And I think that is the key to working with a god that specializes in a specific avenue of stuff, is being aware that um, just being aware of what kind of forces you're playing with, and being respectful, not just to the god but also to the forces that be in that. um, if you want the universe to work with you, like, you got to do stuff to, you can't just, how do I put this? I don't know that I want to put this. um, yeah. I don't want to say that out loud.
It's okay. You can put it in the chat.
So let's see what else. Sometimes you meet someone and there's an instant click.
Yep.
Whether it becomes a deep friendship, a romantic relationship, or something else. This can also happen with deities. But it's just as fairly rare with people. It's fairly rare with deities. So most of the time we go the slower way, spending time together, learning about the other person's history and interests and passions, and gradually making more and more shared memories and connections with each other.
A courtship.
I would call it a courtship, yeah.
I'm just trying to imagine going up to a guy. Would you be wooed by a gentleman caller?
It's also good to remember that not all relationships will last for years or for the entirety of your lifetime. Just like we have friendships or relationships that are important to us, but they are just a point in your life. So value it while it happens, but don't count on it always being there.
Yeah. That definitely is a lesson for and people too. You got to accept everything's not meant to be for a certain amount of time, and don't cling on to the past, whether it be people, deities, events, situations in your life, good or bad.
Live for the moment.
Yes. Now, it makes me wonder, does it mean you can have a one-night stand with a deity?
I do not advise being passive when it comes to your karma or any workings that you want to do. You have to be active in your life in order to come to any conclusions regarding who you are and what kind of influences your workings. So being passive, I think it depends on the god. I also kind of wonder what counts as passive. Like, do you give offerings and then wait? Or do you just not do anything? I mean, I have amulets with Hecate's symbol on it, which is kind of like my way of actually the thing that I'm wearing right now, which is a snake with a sword through it. I kind of equate that to Benzaiten and Hecate. So this is my passive way of supporting them and having them watch over me. I was trying to help complete your thought from earlier, but yes, what is passive? Yeah.
Yeah, passive is definitely be a bad thing. I spent a lot of my life being passive. You got to take action sometimes, but sometimes you got to be still.
Maybe it's like having balance, what you put out in prayer, make sure you act on it in the world. Absolutely. Something God helps those who helps themselves or whatever. And Buddhism works the same way, but there are a lot of Buddhists that are under the impression that if they chant, then their intention will come true. And there is more to it than just chanting. You gotta come up with a battle plan, and you gotta actually get shit done. Otherwise, nothing is gonna happen in your favor.
It's interesting you say that because in recent months with me pushing, doing all this other stuff, it does change things when you finally take action and not just float
Not just float.
or just get caught in old habits that get you nowhere.
Absolutely. Some traditions and paths honor and worship and serve specific deities. Some encourage people to develop a particular relationship with one or more deities in their personal practice, either as well as or instead of tradition or past specific gods. And if you're working on your own, you may develop a relationship with different deities. So Wiccan traditions and Wiccan-derived paths generally honor both a god and a goddess in ritual. Other traditions may honor or work with different deities depending on the season or the reason for the ritual, or in different numbers. Just the way that your relationship with your friends probably aren't all exactly the same, your relationship with deities may not be all exactly the same.
Well, I think just like people, you got to treat them according to their personality, their temperaments, what offends them. Know your audience.
Know your audience. Absolutely. What's this say? It seems sort of complicated, but it's really more like one pair of deities are very close friends that this writer talks to regularly. Two are people they like, and they mostly get together when they have specific things to do. And then two people I see a couple times a year, but where we get a lot out of those few times.
That's how some friendships should be, and that's how they preserve. Because like you're cool like around somebody for a certain amount of time, but too much of it,
it can burn out real fast.
especially with two strong personalities.
Yep, very much so. Which kind of like I know a bunch of people who follow Odin, right? Odin is a big personality, and he also usually demands certain things that don't really work with the modern age, because he's an old god, right? I'm not judging people who follow Odin by any means, but does make you wonder, do they confront everything in their lives as though it were conflict? Because that's the kind of god that Odin is. So if you're living by his example, which some people do, I don't advise putting all of your ducks into one pond, if that makes sense.
It does. For a person like me who's never really grounded myself anywhere, has wandered from crowd to crowd to scene to scene, I can't imagine myself doing the same with any pantheon. I'd be a drifter. A transient.
A transient. And there are gods that specify that they are mostly transient in themselves as well. So,
I guess there are a couple I do kind of have a vibe with,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if there's anything to like be any kind of relationship. More like living room friends.
Living room friends. I got you. Oh my gosh. I need to go AFK for a second, but I will be right back.
AFK. Well, it's just us, folks. Gots today. I guess I think all of them are connected to one thing. The way I say it, that light, that source, that force. Just like you see it in any faith, at least, you know, the ones that don't embrace the negative aspects because they all have it. I mean, we all have our roads to the light. Some just have really weird ways of getting there. And sometimes insane ways they want to push on others. Nothing you can do about that. I mean, other than, you know, try not to let them. But there are those out there that don't force on everybody and like they're just lumped in with those others. Yes. Whether it be Christian, Muslim, all that. I mean, any religion has those fanatics that think that it's the ultimate undisputed truth and everybody else is wrong and only they can save the world by converting everybody. Yes, those are the ones you got to watch out for. The dangerous folk. And I see 2nd Street Marvel in the chat. What up, Trinity? I can't click on you. I do not have control, but I see you. Don't worry. You've been acknowledged. And thank you for those books. I haven't read them yet. In fact, I have time before work, and I will read at least one of them. And thank you for coming. I know at least somebody out there saw my tweet. But, oh, yeah. Since you're always right, never wrong. We know, Trinity. But since you're just joining, Sako had to go run for a minute. I've been given command of the ship, and I'm just going to try to keep it up and going. Yep, power. You can control people through their faith or their compassion, depending on how you look at it, or both. Either way, it can be used as mind control. That's why I really don't put much stock into the prophets, the preachers, the people on their pulpits pontificating because they're allegedly closer to God, whether they went through Bible school or some kind of weird ass shit with whatever priests do. I know they got their little preschool or whatever it's called, preschool. But who the hell are they other than a person who just knows more about their tenets? La-di freaking da. And either way, those tenets were written by a man who also thought he was touched by God. So on that. Not to mention, since we still got time, y'all want to know about the 10 Commandments, go look up George Carlin's video. He breaks it down to one. I think like 1.5. And that's the way it should be. And she's still gone, and it's Monday. Apparently, there's some karma waiting for everyone this week. I'm not looking forward to it because I have a feeling work's going to suck. I'm going to face a lot of bullshit when I get there, and I'm at least going to try to get some writing done this week. I don't know what you folks are doing. And if they are using it for power and clout, then walk away. Yep. That's what you should do. But to those that, whether it be weak of mind or vulnerable of mind, a lot of people go to religion for that. I say, okay, some weak of mind at the same time. In some ways, we're all weak of mind, depending on what it is. But a lot of faiths are, I don't know if it's meant to be predatory, but it's always like the broken people crawl into their steps and they help build them up. But in the meantime, doing that, it's kind of like they have power over them because they introduced them to this faith. And I was like, yeah, I saved your soul. And now it's like an ownership maybe, or maybe a passive aggressive ownership. I've seen this a lot in like Baptist church. So much passive aggression. It's so fucking annoying. The closet drinkers is what I call them. But, yeah. What do you guys got going on this Monday? Hear it up in the chat. I have 2 hours before I have to get ready for work. Riding my bike today because it's not shitty out. Well, it's 32 degrees out and windy. Never mind. I'm not riding my bike. Screw that. Stupid Midwest. It was like 60, 70 degrees, 3 days ago? Yeah. Well, we can't all live in SoCal like 2nd Street Marvel. But it was an interesting chat today about gods. I learned a little thing or two. But, damn, second. Oh, welcome back. I kept us afloat.
Thank you. Hi, Second Street Marvel. How's it going?
Trinity.
Welcome to the thing. Also, you're always right, never wrong. Okay.
He is, despite not having a taste.
If they are using it for power and clout, then walk away. Yeah.
We're talking about how people use religion to control, mind control, especially to those of the vulnerable. Like, there's a lot of like ex-cons and addicts come crawling to their doorsteps, and they kind of rebuild them, but in a very passive-aggressive, controlling way.
Yep.
And I don't like it. It's predatory.
I don't either.
Kick
Like,
their ass.
coming at it from a 12-step program regarding addiction and God being one of the steps, I think is total bullshit.
Well, I think it's God or whatever you identify him as, or some shit like that.
That is not how they put it in the general.
Oh, the
way
book,
of
the AA book.
The AA
Yeah.
book, yeah. They're like, no, like Big G, only Big G, and I don't agree with that. So when my husband was first entering recovery, he is Buddhist, and the closest that they have is agnosticism. So there's no like atheists 12-step program. There's no like
There's an alternative.
there's no alternative. Yeah.
Now, I know that program has helped people get and stay sober, and I'm all for it, but I've been through it a couple of times. Yeah. Just standing around in a circle telling these horrible things you used to do when you drank makes me want to drink.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather talk about good things, other things than booze, because there's way more things than alcohol in this world. Not sitting around talking about alcohol and repeating shit out of a book, because that's just another religion.
Right.
So what are you doing today?
I am. I think I have a game in the evening that I am running. I don't know exactly what I'm running them through.
D&D?
Technocracy.
Never heard.
Mm-hmm. Which is like a Mage the Ascension offshoot.
I am going to go work for probably 10, 11, 12 hours. Yay. And then just going home and sleeping because I got to get up early tomorrow.
Well, we should be wrapping up anyway, right? So, if you like this video at any point, I encourage you to hit the like button. And if you would like to see more streams like this one, you can usually find me on Monday mornings, sometimes with RC, or another witchy guest at 10 a.m. Eastern. And you might want to subscribe and maybe even ring that bell on the off chance that YouTube actually notifies you when I go live. And I will catch you guys on the flip side.
Stay hydrated, witches.